Good morning from beautiful Brisbane, Australia. How are you this morning? Remember to say good day as we come into our lesson this morning. Welcome to the Academy for Complex Trauma. My name's Linda. I'm your certified trauma recovery coach. And today we're all going to come together to talk about infidelity. It's something that crosses our paths, whether personally or someone we know. I don't think in our Western world we actually ever escape, not knowing about it. G'day, Diana. You're doing well with your Aussie lingo today. Um, and it has crossed my path, both personally and with friends as well. And when I set out to sit down and write class last night, believe me, the last thing I was even thinking about was infidelity. So as the plan unfolded, I was quite surprised at what it led to. So this morning, I want to be able to give you both sides of the coin. And it's not both sides of the coin of for and against or about it. It's actually, where do we go from here after we're aware that infidelity has occurred? Because I would have given my, well, I don't know that I would have given my right arm, but I certainly would have given a lot towards thanking somebody who could have given me this information many years ago. Pardon me. But back then, the only information I had to stand on solid ground was that if the person isn't doing any work to change, then there's no going forward with the relationship. And you actually need signs that they're changing, like that they're actually taking action in order that you know that there is going to be change. Otherwise, what's the point of staying, especially for me, because I had kids and I had a big dream for my kids that they would not have to go through what I went through as a child. One of the key things I didn't want them to go through was divorce, but when you're left with no choice, then you have to sit down and examine your options. So we've got some funky new technology this morning that we've got here. So let me just grab the slides for you, and here we go. Okay, so what is it when, oops, hang on, we've got to go back. I forgot, I've got to put it on pause, and we're going to move this over here. Okay, so the meaning of infidelity is the action or state of being unfaithful to a spouse or other sexual partner. Now, I want you to think of this also. It's not just about the sexual side of things, it's in the heart. It's a matter of the heart. Like, where is that person pointing their heart towards? Is it always towards you, or has it, gone off course? I remember the first person that I was in a very long-term relationship with, and I stood there and watched at a party at our house one night, because we used to be involved in sport, and I watched as not only did they flirt with somebody from the same team as me, I could literally see their intent was sexual. And for me, because integrity for me is it's the thing that matters. So people can tell me the truth and we can deal with it. No matter what happens, no matter what it is, tell me the truth and we'll manage it. Whatever has happened, we'll manage it and we'll communicate, we'll work our way through it. But if you lie to me, for me, okay, if you lie to me, it's like, fate worse than death, because then you're leaving me with no alternative. Like, you've just betrayed my trust for me at the deepest level. So when I saw this happening, I knew that I couldn't change it. I knew I couldn't change the desire in his heart. And so I had to sit down and think about, where was my future going with this person? And we were at the stage where we were going to get engaged. I knew that was coming. And I couldn't see a future with somebody like this, and in the end, I had to leave. And at the time, I had no language around why I had to make that decision, but I knew inside of me that I had to leave. And sure enough, after I left, he actually slept with that person once, and then that was it. And it's not that I'm not saying this to say, oh, I was right. I'm saying this to acknowledge that when we know in our heart that somebody has betrayed us at that level, that it's, not, it's hasn't even gotten to the point where it's sexual, that you can see it. And I just went, no, because I know me. I give myself 150% to a relationship, and I just went, no. My value system is such that I would never do that to somebody, and I want to be with somebody who would never do that to me. However, our abandonment wound can mean that we keep choosing people like that. So, what do we do? What are our choices when there has been infidelity? Morning. Good evening to you, Ali and Rach, if Rach is there too. Okay, so the Gottman actually, we'll just wait till, okay. So what is the cause of infidelity? What are we looking at right down underneath it? They gave up on you, and they gave up on the relationship, the goals, the dreams, the marriage, the partnership. It was a decision made without you. You have no fault in this decision. You weren't asked. And I was watching a movie last night, and I went, oh my goodness, they didn't say all of that, but everything fell into place that I could never have changed the decision that certain people in my life made. And, I'm talking about when I was married as well. I could never have changed those decisions because they gave up. They didn't want to choose to come and say, listen, I've got stuff that I need to talk about. I've got issues, or, can we change this? They gave up. They chose another out instead of being willing to stand and build. Okay, so we can't change that ever. Yeah, I could go into a lot of stories about the different people and different things I know, but it's not about other people. This is about us, and us being able to say, wow, I don't need to carry any of those burdens anymore. Okay? I'm not real sure how. Yeah, okay, here we go. So I was looking it up. What do we need to know? So the 3 stages of treatment. Now, the Gottman Institute has done decades of research with couples in particular, and the 3 stages of treatment are atonement, attunement, and attachment. Now, the atonement is quite obvious. We have to sit down and go through, atoning, and just using that word again, but being sorry. Okay, being willing to sit down and say, yeah, I stuffed up. And, being raw and honest about what's happened. The attunement is getting back together, as in we're going to work through what we can do better. Where do we go from here? Getting back in touch with what matters the most, okay, going forward. And the attachment is a very vital part of the treatment, because if you both don't attach together, it can have long-term implications on the relationship, even if you do stay together. So what do? You seek couples therapy, not just individual counselling. And I want you to think about this, because it's important that both of you are working on it, not just one. It won't work if just one of you works at it. Trust is an obvious issue, and it is vital to regain. But if both partners are committed to reconciling the marriage, or at least try, then seeing a couples therapist together is most helpful individual therapy doesn't help regain this trust and may only make healing more complicated. Enough secrets have already been kept. When it comes to trust, both have to be willing to have an open book about rebuilding trust and about what your needs are. So be willing to talk about, this is what I need going forward, all right? And how to rebuild the trust. And have hard conversations about how you're going to rebuild the trust. And this can even be in friendships as well. If you've had a falling out, how are we going to rebuild the trust? Okay? We've got to have a plan. And our brain works better with a plan too, by the way. Okay, the problems in the relationship did not cause the affair, but are important to change. So you're not going backwards, you're going forwards. So you have to ask yourselves the questions of, do you want to start marriage number 2? As in, the marriage to each other's reached an end, but do we want to go forward and take the good bits with us and build on it? Are you prepared to learn better communication skills? And that's both of you. Are you prepared to work to regain your attachment? Both of you need to be prepared to do this. The marriage wasn't the problem. It was the lack of communication and or the lack of ability to communicate about personal marriage issues. Okay? Might have to learn to speed this up. The problems in the relationship did not cause the affair. Whoops. But are important to change. Remember, repeat after me. We're not going backwards, we're going forwards. Oh, I just did that one, didn't I? Sorry, guys. This is new technology for me this morning. All right, let's see if we can get this. No? Okay. So we want to give structure to communication about the affair. So Dr. Shirley Glass points out in her book, Not Just Friends, that the betrayed partner often fits criteria for post-traumatic stress disorder. Have you ever heard that before? Me either. I went, wow, this is big stuff. With their emotional well-being heavily threatened and a sense of safety having disappeared from the marriage. So remember that. If we've already got complex trauma and our partner has an affair, we will suffer even greater, especially with that lack of safety taken away. Pardon me. I can look back now when I got the phone call from the lady saying, you know, I'm having sex with your husband, and I had a baby in one arm and a toddler in the other, and I'm just like, where do we go from here? And I promised the toddler I'd take them out. So we get up the road, and I literally, and look, this is decades ago when I had no idea I had complex trauma. I got up the road and I literally had a major panic attack in the car. I couldn't breathe, etc., etc. We know what it's like. And I was frozen. I could barely move. And I'm like, I have to go home. I feel really bad because I promised the toddler we'd go out. But I thought, I don't know what's happening to me. I had no idea. And that's when my panic attack started, was at that point. Because, of course, I've then felt emotionally unsafe and it had gone off. And it was the first one. Yeah, Diana, I agree. Linda, I will come back to comment and we'll go. I just have to keep going at the moment. So remember, we don't want that extra pressure put on us because we're already dealing with turning our wiring around from deep in our unconscious of not having been safe when we were kids. Okay. It's important to have structure in your sessions to help the betrayed work through the trauma as slowly as is needed and not amplify symptoms like hypervigilance, nightmares, or flashbacks. And I would now add into this hypovigilance, which is freeze mode, which if we've been on that since childhood and I definitely was. I developed epilepsy at age 15 and nobody knew why. And it was, now I can look back and see it was all because of the abandonment wound. And it was the second time that I experienced abandonment from my mum. But at the time, nobody knew why all of a sudden I'm having seizures. But now science shows with the hypovigilance, this is what can happen. They absolutely know it. Okay, so we want to have structure. And even when we're recovering from complex trauma, we need structure. Our brain needs it. So not us personally, as in, our character, or our brain needs the structure in order that we feel safe throughout our day, and we build that with a consistent commitment to our growth. Okay, wow, it's just amazing how much this impacts our life. Okay, so realize the need for trust travels in both directions. So the last thing both of you want is to get 10 years down the road and have one or both of you say you never got over the affair, or you never forgave the betrayer. And this attachment needs to take place. Otherwise, there's going to be a lot of burying of true emotions, passive aggressiveness happening, and bitterness dwelling within. And that causes all manner of health problems as well. Oh, excuse me. We have to be willing to be that raw and that real. Okay? So, this is the page that I enjoyed writing because I know about the most. What if we need to walk away? What if the other person doesn't give us an option because they're not willing to do anything to grow and change, and we can see that we're being left with no option through their lack of choice? Okay, so when somebody doesn't take any action to make things better, they're making a choice that they don't want things to go on, and they're leaving the responsibility with you to change things. Okay, not in the marriage, they're not giving you a choice about the marriage, but when you've got little kids, you're going to have to say, well, what am I going to do? What are the questions I need to ask in order that I can work out what it is I need to do, because I'm being left with no choice here. So take your time to make your decision and honour your path. It will be different for everybody. Seek professional help and with somebody who's walked the journey, so you get a fair discourse of what you face ahead of you, the plus, the minus, everything in between, because you want to know that if you plan things well, that you can either become well in the marriage, or your life after that can be even more filled with joy. Yeah. Ask healthy questions. Never stay for the sake of the kids. It won't work, and the kids will be unhappy because you are internally unhappy. Children learn what they live. You'll need a long-term plan about what that looks like for the kids. Kids pick up on everything that's non-verbal as well. And as I say, you can walk into a room and pick up when somebody's angry without them having said a word. The kids will know that you're not happy. So be real for their sake, all right? You can navigate the waters afterwards and come through it in a healthy manner. Okay. Ask yourself how much you value doing life with this person. And, depending on how long you've been together, have you created memories that in the future you want to look back and say, yeah, we navigated the hard road together? Okay? Be willing to ask those questions even when your heart hurts, in order that you can gain some balance as well. And are they willing to do the hard work to transform too? It takes two. So often people cop a hard time for leaving a marriage, all right? In society, it's definitely seen as, oh, well, they stayed, you're a legend. And the person who chooses to leave gets victimised and cast out from, the friends and family and everyone because they actually choose the harder road for them and their kids. And people don't know that. It's not an easy thing to do, to leave. It's the harder thing to do in some respects that we're not taught. It's never talked about, let's face it. Infidelity, when it happens, everyone's so afraid that it'll happen to them that they want to sweep it under the carpet, all right? We need to be able to talk about hard things in order that we can come up with more creative solutions and have everybody on the same page that, hey, yeah, stuff went wrong, but let's do something to make it a better, healthier, happier life for all of us. Narcissistic type people won't want to do the work, and we have to be prepared for that too. If our partner doesn't want to do the work, we have to honour the decision that they're making, that they don't want to do the work. And that can be one of the hardest things to face. It's like, can't you see that we've got a whole life that we've built together, yet you don't want to do anything about keeping it? It breaks your heart. Absolutely breaks your heart. Life will change if you leave, often for the better in the longer term, because you learn also to value who and what you are and what you bring into a relationship, okay? Grief will play a role in the immediate future as you have to work through letting go of the dream you once were building towards. Then peace comes and then you build your new dream. So it's not always about, oh, well, I've got to walk away and that's the end of it, that's the end of my life. It's, I have to make tough decisions, I've got to do hard work, and I'm willing to do the hard work in order to create a better life and to follow through on what I see my life as having. And if someone comes along and shares that vision as well in life, that's great, okay? But at the end of the day, life can't be about going from one marriage to another. It has to be about sitting down and going, okay, what do I need to address internally within me too? And it does get better as we are able to look at our abandonment wounds as well. Okay, oh, Linda, sorry, I haven't forgotten. I'll just go back up to Linda's comment. Okay, so my husband had an affair. He chose to sleep with another woman. Interesting how his mother saw this and blamed me. While what you are saying is very true, often there is something amiss in the relationship. The partner will start talking to someone else outside the relationship about the problem instead of the partner, and where next minute they're in bed together. Of course, the new partner only hears one side of the story and feels sorry for them. Absolutely. And I've been there, absolutely been there, where I got the blame for it all. And, why would I want to leave a marriage where I had everything and then some? But people don't know what goes on behind closed doors. And like I said, in this society, in Western society, if you leave a marriage, you're seen as the black sheep. Why would you do that? And so much more. And look, I've lost everything twice because of it. And it is hard yards. It really is. And yes, of course, there are relationship problems, but the relationship problems don't cause someone to cheat. That's a choice they make individually. It really is a choice they make, instead of coming back to the relationship and saying, okay, we've got issues, let's do something about it. Let's go and talk to somebody who understands this better than us, and let's come out with a creative solution that we can both work towards. I've seen it time and time again, and part of the solution is that we raise our children, especially our male children, we raise them with emotional intelligence, we raise all our children with the ability to communicate through hard times. All right, so no matter what the three kids and I've been through, and we've been through a lot, we always know that if one or the other of us is upset with each other, we come and talk about it. We talk through the hard times, because then that sets them up when they're in a marriage or a relationship, whatever, at work, every part of their life, that they will seek to talk out through the hard times. We've raised generation of men, and through no fault, it just was what it was, where they don't have the ability to communicate. Sometimes we've got to sit down and say, do they have the willingness to communicate and work through the problems? It's just something that we have to be willing to look at and work through. And it's amazing how society still blames the woman or, the betrayed person, no matter what happens. And it's just not right. We didn't do anything wrong. The other adult, we're both adults in this situation, the other adult made a choice to go and speak to somebody else about what was happening inside their marriage, and we have to be willing to address the issues inside our marriage. Look, in my second marriage, I even got a call from the pastor, because then husband went to the pastor and said, yada, 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 my wife, this, that, and the other. But he never said a word to me. Not one word to me. And I said to the pastor, hey, this is what's really happening behind closed doors. And the pastor just backed right down and said, oh, yeah, I see. And I'm like, no, you don't get to go outside the marriage and start bagging me out or saying this, this, and this and getting the pastor onto me when you won't come to me and talk to me about what is going on. And I've seen this repeatedly. For some reason, it's easier to go and talk to other people about your perceptions, but you won't go and speak to the person that really matters the most. And that's what we need to do. That person that we're married to needs to matter the most, that we will do anything to address the issues that are happening. And I feel very strongly about that. Other people may not, and that's okay too. Okay, I will have all of this information up in the new academy so that you can go through the slides again for yourself, and it'll all be free. I'll make a post on the business page shortly when it's all up in there so that you can access it. And I haven't got time at the moment, but I will put a workbook together eventually for this, just so that you can work through what's happened for you and know that the only person that you can change at the end of the day is you, and where you're going from here. Okay, I hope this helps this morning. Thanks for joining in, ladies. It's great to have you with me, and I will see you again tomorrow morning. Bye for now.